chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina Speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You can hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Good evening, Cayman, and welcome to another edition of Sabrina Speaks. Good morning, good night to our global family. It's good to be here with you on this thankful Thursday. Let me just get my Facebook links up here. There we go. Yeah. Sorry, just bear with me. Want to make sure that everybody gets this on the social media channels now that we're live. There we go. That ends that. There we go. Hi, how is everybody on this Thursday that the winds have somewhat subsided and the rains have gone away? The cool temperatures are, they're disappearing. But welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I'm your host, Sabrina, and it's good to be back with you on this thankful Thursday. Now, please note that the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, or participants, is intended solely for general, informational, and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. So I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented here. So, good evening again, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And as I say, we continue to build this space. Thank you. Thank you for all of you who are liking and following us, and welcome to our new followers as well. We're good to have you. How has it been thus far for this Thursday? I hope you're having a good one so far. Let me get rid of that. There we go. I like to do this. Thankful Thursday. Today's to-do list, and I hope you've pretty much completed this. Be grateful for another day. Be kind to myself and others. I am doing my best, and I got the shock of my life this morning. I'll share that with you in a second. 3, count my blessings. And I did. Trust God's timing, live my best life, and don't sweat the small stuff. And just breathe. Now, I hope each of you take that really, really serious, because I found it to be rather profound. I found that to be very profound on this thankful Thursday, but I'm giving thanks, and I hope that you are as well. Now, like, as I said, I was a little bit loom and gloom because the cold front that we have is gone, or it's going. But here's the latest weather update, because I know, and thank you for the feedback that I've been receiving. You appreciate what I'm doing here with the weather, especially in the evening. But thanks to the Cayman Islands National Weather Service, the synopsis calls for a dissipating front southeast of the Cayman area is expected to continue supporting cloudiness and some isolated showers over the next 24 hours. Now the pressure gradient begins to weaken, supporting fresh winds and moderate rough seas across the Cayman Islands tomorrow. Radar imagery shows showers over the Cayman area drifting towards the southwest. Our forecast for tonight calls for cloudy to overcast skies with a 40% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the mid 70s degrees Fahrenheit, and winds will be east to northeast at 15 to 20 knots. Seas will be rough with wave heights of 6 to 8 feet, and small craft alert is in effect. Now, the forecast for tomorrow is partly cloudy skies with cloudy spells and 40% chance of showers. Temperatures will rise to the low to mid 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and wind will be east to northeast at 15 to 20 knots. Seas will be moderate to rough with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet. Small craft advisory will be in effect as well. For all of my boaters and fishermen out there, today's high tide is going to be at 5:48 this evening. Tomorrow, a low tide is at 12:19, and a high tide is at 6:43 in the morning. Sunset this evening will be at 5:46, and sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:33 a.m. For all of you who enjoy the crisp morning breeze and watching the sunrise, it's at 6:33 tomorrow if you can see it, right? The outlook is for a gradual decrease in cloud cover from tonight, with possible isolated showers lingering into the weekend as remnant moisture from the frontal boundary lingers across the northwest Caribbean. So there you have it. And that's your weather forecast for this evening and your sunrise and sunset for tomorrow. Yeah. I want to say, yeah, it's that time of the day to send happy birthday greetings out. A number of people celebrated birthdays today. And if you've been following my pages, I was trying to get some more pictures of people. But yeah, I was a little limited what I could find for some. But huge birthday shout outs to Mr. Winston Ebanks. Yeah, Winston, happy birthday to you from all of your friends and family here at the Sabrina Speaks and CMRTV.com family. And definitely to Donna and the family, the kids and grandkids, wishing you a wonderful birthday today. I hope that either have pampered you as best as they can. And I know Donna reminded me of this yesterday, but you are one of the many Jamaicans that I know have come here, has made and embraced Cayman your home. You have contributed significantly in the construction industry. And Winston, with a Ebanks name, people may think I only know you from the political scene, but story goes way back. But they say you must give people their flowers when they are alive and can appreciate it. And Mr. Winston, I want to thank you for allowing me into your family, for pretty much embracing me as a sister and a daughter. And I want to thank you for your contributions over the years and choosing to be a part of the Cayman Islands and not forgetting exactly and giving thanks for everything the islands have blessed you with. And today we celebrate you. And I want to wish you a happy, happy birthday. Many, many more to come. I'm hoping that those seas does subside because I know you're a fisherman. You like to be out there on the high seas fishing. But enjoy your day. Take it easy. And God bless you always. Yeah. Happy birthday, Winston Ebanks. So if you know him, you see him, be it tonight, tomorrow, into the weekend, he can celebrate for the entire month or as long as he wants. Winston, happy birthday to you. And Donna, hope you feel better soon. And thanks for the gentle reminder as well. Yep, we're not going to forget it here and now. Also, big birthday shout outs to guess who? Anyone recognize this man? That guy is Leon. Leon Miles celebrates his birthday today. Huge shout out goes out to Leon. Yeah, Leon is celebrating a birthday today. And I'm hoping that he's having a blast himself. Here's another image of Leon just chilling. Now, the man loves to vibe. He really just enjoys life. And I can't blame him. Happy birthday, Leon, from all of your family, from your daughter, from your sister, from your mom, Elsie Mae, from your aunts, your cousins, and yeah, we're gonna embarrass you a little bit on our social media pages. We're sharing some pictures that I knew you did not know existed, huh? You did not know they even existed, but yeah, he's the man with the plan. That's Leon. Leon. So big shout outs to Leon today on his birthday. And I know you're going to go out a little later and definitely enjoy celebrating your birthday. That will probably trickle into the weekend. Knowing you, I know that is going to happen. And as we celebrate those birthdays, we also want to send huge, even these we celebrate on this platform. Huge congratulations. Look at this little bundle of joy. Yeah. Kaylee Maria Smith came into the world today at a whopping 7 pounds, 9 ounces. Little Kaylee Maria Smith. Congratulations to Danny and Gregory Smith. Now, there's a story behind this birth. And you ever heard about a top secret? I almost thought it was AI. And I could tell you why. I'm an auntie, and I found out this morning. Yeah, I'm an auntie again. This time, a niece. Our family does not really have girls. And for some reason, my brother, he and his wife were able to keep this like Fort Knox. Like they beat everything that's going on with the Epstein files, because even them now have been released. But this shocked the entire family this morning. And when I got word that, we're sharing all of the birthday shout outs to Leon and all of that sort of stuff, and I'm expecting, well, the message that was posted in the family chat was, welcome to the world. Or like, Leon, you're going to be celebrating a birthday now with somebody else. Welcome to the world, little Kaylee. And we're like, huh? What do you mean, little Kaylee? So I thought at first it was AI. Literally, I said, is this April Fool's? And everybody in the family chat was going crazy. So I'm excited that I'm an aunt again, but this time not a nephew, but a niece. And she's going to be spoiled rotten. So yes, it was the fastest I ever moved. One of our big supporters here on Sabrina Speaks, Tisha, thank you so much for the lovely gift. And I left it downstairs. My apologies. She was waiting for me to see her. And I was like, girl, I'm at the hospital. I just found out that I'm an auntie again. So it's my pleasure to share this new bundle of joy to my family with you, the whole world. We got little Kaylee who has joined us into this world, and yeah, it is a blessing. I love them. I love them where you can actually just borrow them every now and again and return to sender when they start crying. But yeah, that was a huge surprise for me, and I just want to congratulate them on it. Yeah, on their birth. Yep, Marshall, he's a daddy again. That's Gregory. Damian Henry, it's so good to have you with us here this evening. And I know you're expecting me to respond back to you by email. I have to wrap my head around that because my former no longer exists. And I am very careful with how I give advice, but I pretty much answered your question in a former podcast. So every time I see your name pop up, but I have to just do that, respond to you officially. So even though you're giving me your scenario, I'm not giving advice. That's not that. I don't do that anymore. And I'm hoping that you can find someone that can actually help you navigate. But thank you for trusting in me. I meant to had actually, I gotta respond back to you, to be honest. But yeah. So please, I hope you understand and appreciate where I'm coming from with that. Hey, Marshall, good evening to you. It's a pleasure to have you with us in this at this time. Yeah, Annie, good afternoon to you. Valerie Lindo, yeah, sending happy birthday shout outs to Leon. Yep, and there are more coming out here. Donna, yeah, there you go, to your loving husband, Winston. See, Donna, Yeah, I showed you up here on a picture, Donna. I don't know if you had seen that image that I had here with you and Winston. There are lots of other pictures that I was trying to look for, but you remember that day, right? That's Donna and her little grand one who has grown up to be a nice young lady right now. And myself, that I think I was taken in 2021. Yeah, there we go. So nice of you, Miss Donna. We're sharing him with you. Annie Ann is sending congratulations to Gregory. Buenas tardes, Cayman y Sabrina. Parantes. Parantes. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Cómo estás? I had the accent down, Pat, but not very much more I can say, okay? So don't try me. I can fool you for a little bit, but don't expect like a full-on conversation. Yeah, so good afternoon to you as well. For those of you who don't know, I think we all pretty much know that. Yeah, Jackie Bennett, good evening to you. Welcome to you. And this evening is one of, again, those freestyles. Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much happening right now. And having the open and honest conversations with you in these spaces, which for the record, I'm going to end a little earlier this evening because I really want to go downtown and I'm going to talk about that just a little bit. But I will be ending a little early this evening. And hence we're doing a freestyle. No, I'm not going to the hospital to spoil that little bundle of joy. I'll have a lot of time to do that, but I'm really going downtown. But yeah, these spaces that we're having and the amount of it calls that I get, even post show, I wish that one day people would engage like that with me, just like we have into this space where we can share the information publicly. But I totally respect persons' candor in a sense where they would prefer to be just open with me privately. But yeah, I love it when we do open discussion, because it's not a lot of people that really come out open and speak. And that's the cycle that we're trying to break. That's what we're trying to break. Now, it's not like individuals are actual civil servants. These are just Caymanians that I guess don't want to be commenting or even call in because persons may recognize their voices. But sometimes not sometimes, all the time, the conversations, their opinions are sound, but they prefer to have like a post show, but a post show with me. And I'm not being at all disrespectful. I don't mind engaging with you, but you can get other perspectives and so forth when you actually participate live. You will notice that I try to bring topics that is informative, it's educational, and for each episode, of course, many a time steered by yourself. Because of when we have these segments of open mic, I'm not here to tear down the government, any members of parliament, any member of society. No. If there's something that needs to be discussed, that it is a difficult conversation, and you want to air it here, like we've had unscrupulous employers and so forth, I brought up that topic because people reached out to me and we addressed it. If there's subjects with regards to what you see happening in the schools, like what I see being maniacs and on the road, how they're driving, and we need more policing and oversight and all this sort of stuff, and some of the road worthiness of the vehicles that we're seeing on the road. These are all sound conversations that come up even post-show. Many a times, all 2 hours afterwards, I entertain calls, which I'm just being respectful. But I really want to get the conversations for persons to be comfortable to just call in, comment publicly so we can go along with the flow, because it's amazing what feedback and opinions you can have from when others actually participate, but then together we all learn. And the conversation yesterday pretty much went along the lines where, there was some disappointment where when we were speaking about the cryptocurrency and how Bitcoin is here and blockchain and all that sort of stuff. And you're like, the conversation was around, we feel almost, I wouldn't use the word exploited, but as though we're only valued during election time. But even though I'm just a regular member of society, when these laws are being amended, how come we don't know? And I'm getting that a number of times with persons are calling that are saying, it's not until you bring up certain subjects and you realize that there's a law and we're like hearing this for the first time. And then we feel as though when you look at the ministers responsible for those pieces of legislation to be discussed in caucus and cabinet, or that it actually makes it to the floor of parliament, that's the first time many a times we're hearing about it. And then we're looking at the implications that it can have on our way of life, how we operate business. It feels as though there's just certain things that are happening when laws are made, laws are amended, that we are not aware of until you're hearing about this digital world now that's coming into place. And it is sad because the tone of the voices that I'm hearing is as though we are no longer, like the public is no longer, there's a sense of their opinion don't matter because their elected officials are already in. And many a times I can only be a soundboard. I am not there to criticize anybody. I have said numerous times on this platform, I'm hoping and praying that for stability reason and for the reputation of the Cayman Islands, that, you know, we can hold this administration together. I don't care what they're going to do. I don't care whether or not they amalgamate. It makes no difference to me. What I'm saying, we need stability. We need that type of governance. But at the end of the day, when you're hearing certain things like when I mentioned about the currency and that these things are actually happening, and you're saying there's an amendment in 2024 we didn't know, and we heard Mr. Scott brought it up that these conversations are far beyond. It's almost like if you're not in that field, Caymanians feel left behind. And I really think and I hope that even though our parliament is in session right now with finance committee beginning today because they're debating the national budget, but I'm really hoping that after the dust settles, that our powers that be will capitalize on the information that is being shared on a lot of the social media platforms and a lot of these live discussions, and that they would make themselves either more available, bring up hard topic discussions, or just revisit any amendments to laws, as insignificant as they may think the amendments will be, even though they're going to be debated on the floor of parliament, even if it's in the financial industry. Don't you think that the common member of society, if it's going to impact the way businesses and services are rendered in the Cayman Islands, that everyone is deserving to know, like put a highlight on it? And I'm really, really hoping that a lot of the ministers, all of them, will understand how important that is. Because like I said, the post conversations being had since I have been conducting this space the way I've been conducting it and speaking law many of times, that I have to research, that I avail myself to going to research these different legislations, or a particular subject comes up or a question that is posed here, which I take as an action item, which you would see me making many a times copious amounts of notes. I go back to educate myself. Well, what's the governing structure for this question? What's the governing structure for that? And then bang, there's a piece of legislation that we have here. And then I take it upon myself to come back to educate and inform you. But post-show, the discussions that ensue is like, well, who's the minister for that? And then when, of course, I figure it out, why didn't they come back to us? Why didn't they? And these are regular people. I'm just blessed to be in a position now that I am able to have some time on my hands where I can research in order to deliver to you at a certain standard. But it takes a lot of time as well. And many a times, a lot of the experts that would be needed to add even more in-depth context to a conversation is lacking, because for fear of sharing the information, not getting permission, possibly from their employers. And worse, if it's a government department, they have to seek permission to come on platforms to discuss certain things. It is pretty hard for them to come in an individual capacity, even if they're a civil servant. So the onus is on hosts like myself. Researching sometimes will take a lot of time, but I feel each voting member of our society, and even our young men and women that could be off studying, you deserve those conversations. And I don't feel that it is fair to anyone that, unless it's a controversial bill, that somebody sounds an alarm, that should be the first time a lot of people are hearing it when it's being tabled on the floor of Parliament. And I'm hoping, like I said, that our leaders will understand how important it is to keep open dialogue with their constituents. And in general, national, which means everyone. And once you are a member of cabinet, once you are a cabinet minister, and you're given that instrument, that approval, that responsibility granted by the premier and supported by the governor to be the minister of whatever ministries, they owe it not only to their constituents, but to the entire Cayman Islands to make sure that any policies, any laws that are being updated, that at least they are able to air it publicly. Because I'm saying that only because of the type of conversations that happen post-show. And I am blown over lots of times that people are unaware. And even myself, when I'm researching stuff, I am shocked that there's so much pieces of legislation right here in the Cayman Islands that serve their individual purposes. And this is why many of us, and I'll read some of the comments that are popping up, feel that we're left out. And it almost makes you feel as though, oh, because I'm not a big wig working in the financial industry, that I'm dumb enough. Maybe my representative, let's say, is the Minister for Finance. If you just use this for an example, they don't feel that it's worth having a town hall meeting to discuss this because we won't know. First of all, participation is key. But if they even do a virtual meeting or come on multiple platforms to discuss it, they can't say that they did not avail themselves, right? But just not doing that at all, based on the conversations that are being had, I think it's a disservice to all of us, to be honest. Miss Lucille, good evening. Happy birthday to your, oh, yes. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Miss Lucille. That's the crew over there in the United Kingdom. Donna, yes, hun, I see it. Yeah, that's from 2021. Annie. I think that's how a lot of us feel, that our opinions don't matter. And I'm telling you, based on the conversations that I'm having, I'm feeling that disconnect. I'm feeling that you're only what I'm getting, but it's not really coming out word for word, that you are only mattered during a campaign session. And I'm quite sure some other elected persons may actually say, well, at the end of the day, isn't that what they elect us to? What, you want us to come back for everything? I don't know. I can't speak on their behalf. But what I'm saying, with the power of podcasting, with the power of all of the information and how you can actually access information right now, many of you are feeling disheartened to know that things appear to be escalating behind the scenes because you still have a divided society when it comes to the digital age, when it comes to the topic of national ID. And we have a divided society. Now, one may say, well, how do you know that? You can feel the pressure here. You can feel the temperature right here. Every time the conversation comes up, there's only 2 or 3 people that is really being vocal publicly. But behind the scenes, it's loud. It's loud. And at the end of the day, maybe you're feeling that your opinions don't matter, because when certain platforms are availing themselves, or it's just that when these policies are being made and laws are being changed, that you're feeling there's not enough public notice given. Okay, fine. If that has to be tightened up, fine. We can identify that more publication, more PR needs to be done on certain things, or just make it broad brush on all laws so that you feel included. And I'm thinking that's why people are feeling that way. But if you're only talking behind closed doors and you're seeing where certain developments, certain things are actually creeping in and happening, and all of a sudden you're realizing, oh, there's a legislation that covers that. What do you mean there's a legislation that covers that? Yeah, the Cayman Islands has laws that governs that function, or for electronic funds to be taken. Oh yeah, they're trading in Bitcoin already in the Cayman Islands. What do you mean? How come I don't know about it? I'm just using that as an example. If they don't start talking to you, you will continue to feel like that, but you're not doing yourself any good either by staying home and moping and only talking amongst, let's say, your circles. It doesn't help the majority. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Evening. Jesus.
I swear I have a plan B show after a show.
I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that you said is that people feel like they only know you at election time. And that is a serious problem. But for MPs to only, quote, know someone at election time, in my mind, sounds like how, say, a person might only be interested in a prostitute at a certain time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is why they come with gifts.
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
To buy you.
Mm-hmm. And if you take it, you're done. Take what you get.
And then discard you after election day.
Mm-hmm.
I think what people need to focus on is, I know that some people want to be, and I'm not sure of all of the reasons why they feel this way, but for some reason, some people feel like they need to just focus on themselves.
Yeah. And that's what's gotten us where we are today.
But if you really want to help yourself, you actually need to look out for everyone else.
Correct.
Because the rules that make it possible for any one of us to do something applies to all of us.
Yeah.
And we had some discussion about this particular topic before. But if you see that someone is trying to accomplish something, meaning to hold the government accountable because they're not doing something right, you should speak up, because helping that person preserves the protection for yourself, so that 10 years down the road, or even when your children grow up and need that same type of protection or some other type of protection, it is there because we defended those rights and therefore retained them.
Right. But it's when you hear the tone in their voice, like, Miss Sabrina, thank you for sharing that. I didn't realize that we were actually trading or conducting business, or that we even had legislation, even if it's in its beginning stages for Bitcoin and the digital wallet. And then what you think comes next? But what do you think comes next about the national ID? Then that's where the conversation goes. That's why I said we're still divided.
About Bitcoin, right? The government amended legislation
in 24.
specifically, yes, to allow companies here to do use the blockchain. Because I remember hearing the premier argue, saying, well, they're not really doing anything different. They're just doing it using different methods.
Mm-hmm.
And blockchain is one of the methods. And that is true, but what the problem I have with the way things are is that the banks don't want regular people like me and you to use our debit card to purchase it. Now, the government sitting down and looking out for the interests of the businesses
Mm-hmm.
who are doing investments using what is essentially the same technology,
Mm-hmm.
but saying nothing
To the
while
average
the
person.
banks lock us out of a once in a lifetime massive opportunity. That really hurts.
Devil's
It's like,
advocate, do you think it's because they're behind the scenes are trying to navigate this new space so that when it comes to a point where that's where we're going, that they would have already been able to fix a module that they will still continue to operate as they are, just that it's digital currency?
you mean the
Whereas,
bank?
yes. Do you think,
No,
okay.
no.
I said for devil's
Bit-
advocate.
yeah, Bitcoin is actually, in a sense, runs contrary to the way a central bank
Bank runs.
system works, because Bitcoin is decentralized,
Mhm.
which is 180 degrees from
How they
centralized,
operate. Yeah. Mhm.
right? That doesn't mean the bank still can't use it and so forth. They could if they wanted to.
They
I
just
mean,
have to change
companies,
their way of operations.
they have to change their thinking. But you
Yeah.
see what the problem is it would give the individual too much freedom,
Freedom.
which is what the banks don't want. And what the average person needs to understand about banks is that the language they use to describe how they do business
Uh-huh.
is specifically designed to keep the average person ignorant of the truth about what banks do. And let me give you an example. We would think banks deal with money.
Mm-hmm.
No, banks deal with debt, no, not money.
That's why you're attracted when you're in debt.
That's right.
They give you red carpet treatment when you're in debt.
Because they are profitable when you're paying them interest.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't like when you pay off your credit card 100% every month.
And the more they can keep you in that position,
Yeah.
that they see that as progress. Now, Bitcoin is about giving you freedoms that the bank doesn't want to give you, right? And so when you think about money, like we think of the CI dollar,
Mm-hmm.
that the CI dollar isn't money in the strict sense of the word. It's currency.
Mm-hmm.
But what is currency? Currency is actually just a certificate for debt.
For legal tender of that
No,
jurisdiction
it's but it's really a certificate that represents a certain amount of debt.
debt. Okay. Which is the denomination, the value of whatever.
Right. So when you go to the bank and you say you're going to deposit some money,
Mm-hmm.
what you're technically doing is lending the bank money, which is debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think about it as I'm depositing it.
They're going to
But
hold it. They're my savings. They're my safekeeping.
the reason they pay you an interest rate is because they are compensating you
For what
paying
money
you
they make off of your money.
for the right to utilize the value that you lend them. So you're lending the bank money when you make a deposit, which is why they pay you interest on the loan that you lent them.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not much, but
It's pretty much
but it
obsolete now.
right, but it what it technically means is that you're lending them money and they're paying you interest for the loan.
So where's the control
Then,
coming in then?
well, you have the reverse. So how the bank makes their money is by selling money, right? So when you now go to the bank, let's say you lend the bank money, they pay you 2% interest a year. That's the nominal
Right.
rate, not the real interest rate. Then you go back to the bank and you say, I want to build a house.
Mm-hmm.
And the bank says, well, okay, I'll lend you some money now.
Mm-hmm.
But the interest rates are going to be much higher.
Higher.
And so the way you look at it is that the bank is making the profit difference between what they borrow money for, what we lend them as deposits, and what they sell money for, which is what they call mortgages or loans.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now they do other things. This is not intended to say
Yeah.
this is all they do.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is that they borrow money from you at a low interest rate and they sell it back to you at a higher interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of how they make money. But understand that we're lending them and they're lending us. So what we're actually talking about is debt. And the more debt they have us in, the better their bottom line. This is why this concept of politicians sitting down and saying nothing about us being able to have access to Bitcoin. This is pure bank policy. The reason why I know it's bank policy is because I asked the appropriate people. Okay. And you want to confirm this? Well, companies are licensed in Cayman by SEMA to deal with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So what do you mean only certain people can have access to it, but not little old me and you? When I tell you it's offensive, I can't emphasize how much on this radio show offended I feel by that, because what it technically means is that our government is okay with us being second-class citizens.
When you put it like that,
that's
it's exactly what I'm hearing in the tones of those who I've spoken to.
It's an unequal application of the law. Now, I know the government say, but we're not in their shoes as investment companies. We don't need to be, because technically speaking, you have a natural person, which is you and I, and you have a corporate person, which is a company.
Right.
And they should have, and when it comes to commerce, equal standing before the law. Okay? And so we shouldn't be treated like second-class citizens.
Do you feel this is why people are feeling that their voice doesn't matter when you break it down like that in layman's terms, that there's obviously another market out there that is making its way around the world, and yet it's already here. It's been here from 2020 where legislation is concerned and updated in 2024, but yet it's only a certain sector, certain class, certain tiers of people are able to get in.
Well, what some people will, when they hear me speak about it, will say, but don't you know that there are ways in which you could get it? And I'm like, do you really believe that the Caymanian people should have to jump through hoops
and hurdles
like they're monkeys just to be able to eat at the table?
But not when it's so easy for a piece of legislation that can be done, discussed in a caucus, a cabinet. And those people are put there by the people.
That's not even necessary. I think that if the government went to the banks and said, listen, I know that you have a right to decide what you're going to do in your business and so forth, but we want our people to have access to it. Would you voluntarily do it, or do we need to legislate it?
But can I ask one question for the people in the back of the class? Why would you have to go to the bank? Why couldn't you just go directly with those persons who are regulated by SEMA?
Because they do a different type of business.
Gotcha. It's not like a class A.
Right. It's not. Yeah. That's a different type of business, but
Okay.
you're dealing with it, and it's kind of like you can buy things from different places in the world. Like
Right.
you can buy, let's say, milk on the shelf here in Cayman, or you can order the milk from Amazon if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But what the bank is saying is, no, you can't use my debit card
to do
buy the
that.
milk from Amazon. You understand?
Gotcha.
That's more like what the problem is.
Gotcha.
And
So who's
there's
holding us hostage then? Why are we placed in that position? Asking on
we're
behalf of
placed-
civil society?
It's the policy of the banks, because the banks see it as a means of giving you a degree of freedom that they would prefer you not have.
But following this conversation, where does that put the people for freedom to live and get access to everything else? Yeah.
I have forever said to the Caymanian people, the only rights that you will have are those you fight for.
Gotcha.
All of the rest will be taken
profound.
away.
That's profound. And Danny, I don't think people are understanding what you're saying, because we're breaking it down as best as we can. And for the record, for those of you just joining us, welcome to Thankful Thursday edition of Sabrina Speaks. It's open mic here. And we're just talking here with a caller in regards to the banking industry. And post show, I get a number of calls, many evenings, sometimes 2 hours in length, different calls, of course, that are saying that they didn't realize all of these legislation that the Cayman Islands have and how now it's impacting it just by chance, that conversations ensued in regards to Bitcoin, digital currency, and then that led into digital ID. And they're feeling a sense where, well, we will have our leaders, past and current, that at the end of the day, they're not saying this to me. Is it because I'm not worthy? I'm not good enough? It's because I'm living here. I don't live in certain place. I don't work in certain industries. And they feel as though they've been let down by their representatives. So that is a matter in a nutshell of what we're talking about, just to bring you all up to speed with what we're talking about. But Denny, I think that is where people are feeling left out. And yourself, go ahead.
Well, think about this for a second. We just celebrated veterans and remembering what was done for the world.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that is often said is, lest we forget.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid to tell you, we forgot a long time ago. And the reason for that is this. When politicians go out to an event like that because they want to appreciate the sacrifices of persons who did extraordinary things to give us the degree of freedom that we have, then go to another meeting or whatever for business, or just meaning for their job,
right?
And then do things that threaten the freedom that we have and the rights that we have, and to suppress people, their own constituents, members of their own constituency. It's a blatant contradiction. Yeah. And anyone who don't appreciate what I'm saying right now, I'm going to say it more explicitly. When you have a family member that went abroad and participated in a war, they killed They killed other human beings
Mm-hmm.
who disregarded things that we take, that what our rights are, and we take it for granted. Those people have no care or had no care about our rights.
Right.
And they fought and killed them so that we don't have to live in fear, so that we could have this sense of understanding that there's this agreement that when we're walking down the road and you pass someone on the sidewalk, you have a degree of safety that you know you could get to school, or you could get to work,
Mm-hmm.
or you could go and exercise and
Mm-hmm.
not feel a sense of total
Mm-hmm.
terror because you're so scared of what may happen to you.
Right.
We don't possess this degree of freedom just by mere chance. And it is not guaranteed to stick around.
Right.
It will only stick around if
If.
we insist that our rights are respected.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the biggest threats to our rights, our freedoms, and our prosperities
Mm-hmm.
are politicians who come and they smile with you and say things like, "How your mama doing?" They're some of the biggest threats. And you have to learn to recognize danger when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody tells you they're looking out for your interests, but they're doing things that cause your life to get harder and harder by the day,
Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are not even identifying that, Danny, until certain conversations come up, or unless it's a sticking point at some point. And this is where I'm feeling now that if we don't, we're at a pivotal moment, at a crossroads in our society right now, where persons are now waking up and seeing how around us certain things have been developing. And as certain things happen in other jurisdictions or globally, then they're like, wow, it's here. And this is
well,
where some
yeah.
anger is coming in then, because you feel as though you were exploited, you were taken advantage of, then is where, in layman's terms.
One of the things that Caymanians really need to pay particular attention to
Mm-hmm.
and tell their MPs to stop right now until we have proper conversation. Because one of the things that you made reference to when talking about laws and so forth
Mm-hmm.
is you talked about PR.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have too much PR and not enough dialogue.
Gotcha.
Because dialogue is about us understanding other person's perspective
Right.
in the hopes of coming up with a proper solution to the challenges that we're facing.
Mm-hmm.
And if this immigration amendment goes through the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
the question I asked at the Marimilla Hall was about Clause 35 of the bill,
Right.
which proposes a new section in the immigration law, which is 83A, subsection 7.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what that does is that it says that the amendments that are being made now will not apply to the non-Caymanian civil servants, meaning those who are looking forward to getting status in the future. It won't apply to them.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a second. Why would the government do that? The National Party has in their manifesto, you can go online and look at it. They believe that the rules that apply to the society should also apply to government. That's in their manifesto online.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not what's actually happening right now. What they are telling us is they're not going to apply these new rules to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
They're effectively going to allow those who are already
In
here
the system, or yeah. Mm-hmm.
to continue. And if you want to have evidence that this is what they're thinking, go back and listen to the video at the Mary Miller Hall
Oh,
and listen to Mr. Howell's reply to my question. He talked about those who began their journey.
they're grandfathered in the grandfather clause,
That's right.
which
That's
means
right.
that it
And
would only apply once the governor assents to whatever is passed,
no,
if
no,
and
no,
when
no,
passed.
no, 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 no. It means that those who are non-Caymanians working in the civil service,
Yeah.
who are hoping to get Caymanian status,
Mm-hmm.
these changes
Will not affect them
will allow them to
to
go on to
continue.
get it.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so if you want to know what that actually means, what you have to ask is, well, how much people are non-Caymanian civil servants? And that will give you an idea of the quantity of persons who will be exempted from these current rules. And what's going to happen is that when those who are non-Caymanians, who are civil servants, get status, that is going to mean that they will block any young person who's moving up through the ranks. So that's not what I'm hearing that the public says that they want.
mm-hmm.
The public doesn't want, they think it's too many people getting status grants as it is. And these rules not applying to the existing non-Caymanians, that's not being talked about in an honest way with the public.
But
The
do you think
government is
maybe an element of human rights in consideration was taken?
That's nonsense.
I'm just
That's the
asking
excuse.
because they
Yes,
would have
I
they
agree.
gotten guidance.
I agree that you are just asking. I'm saying it's what that argument that the government is making is nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is that nobody has a right to believe any legitimate expectation that the law will not change. Okay, let me give you an example. The firearms law was changed in 2024. The government didn't say, well, since you had a license prior to this, these new provisions won't apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, no. They all apply. Every last one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it is actually supposed to be.
Ah.
The reason they don't want to do it here is for reasons that they're not actually being honest with us about. Okay?
And what is that?
I don't know all of the reasons, right? But the point that I'm making is that if you see somebody doing something that they shouldn't be doing, well, there's probably an explanation for it.
Well, did you think
I
that the
don't,
country
I don't,
deserves an explanation if you're smelling something or
absolutely,
you see
which is,
smokes?
yes,
Because remember, at the end of the day now, not everybody may want to apply for anything, even though, or to apply to remain and reside here. They may actually just work out whatever their tenure is and still don't apply.
that's true.
They don't have to apply. But the
That's
mere
true.
fact that you're bringing this to the point is that it could be, you brought up in a previous episode that there are a number of departments and exemptions that this wouldn't actually apply to either.
The courts, for
So
example,
6 1/2 dozen the next. Is it
you see,
smoke and mirrors?
the public should tell the government to stop what they're doing right now. We need more time to have a proper dialogue about these issues before just pushing this through. Let me explain to you one of the reasons why there shouldn't be departments that are exempted.
Mm-hmm.
The government's argument is that, yeah, but these are skills that we don't readily have available.
Uh-huh.
Well, just because those skills are not readily available doesn't mean that we need to exempt the department. What you do is you don't exempt any class of people, when the time comes for that person to be rolled over, then either they are rolled over or they're allowed to get Caymanian status, depending on what the situation might be.
Mm-hmm.
That gives a Caymanian an opportunity. Let's use the courts, for example. If you exempt the courts, we'll never have Caymanian judges. Okay? Because what is going to happen is that if they're exempted, then it's not even a consideration.
Correct.
But if they're not exempted,
It's carte blanche.
Then what it means is that if a Caymanian judge becomes available, then that person would have an opportunity to take up such a position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So by exempting, they're actually rigging the system against the Caymanian people.
Succession planning then for locals in that system, in that industry, then is a farce.
That's right. That's right. And none of this is going, none of what we're talking about here is going to matter if people just sit down and say nothing to their politicians. We need more time to have a proper discussion about this very important subject, because the argument that you get from the government, which is, oh, well, let's just put something in place and then see how it works. And if it doesn't work, then we'll come back and we'll make changes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what they're leaving out when they make that ridiculous statement? They're not telling you that if it doesn't work, that we won't be able to undo the damage that was done by their experiment.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you have to understand that damage is going to affect us
long-lasting implications
for the rest of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This is reckless. It's dangerous. We should not put up with this kind of nonsense. And the other thing that drives me up the wall is the idea that, oh, we've agreed that there will be certain amendments that will be made at the committee stage.
Mm-hmm. Which would not have had a time for public consultation.
That is grossly inappropriate.
Committee stage amendment, for the sake of all of our viewers and listeners, are amendments that would be pointed out on the floor of Parliament in debate, that just amongst themselves, pretty much, sometimes they will call their close confidants or maybe one or two people from their committee and ask certain things. But then right there and then, in order to get a particular bill into law passed, those committee stage amendments would have had no public consultation, which means you would have been robbed of that opportunity to give your opinion, just for the sake of educational purpose when we're talking about committee stage amendments. Go ahead, caller.
That's correct. And so the purpose of the committee stage amendments is to do minor technical things, not make changes on policy. So policy is, what do you think we should do with immigration? Technical things is things like formatting, wording of the
comma here, there.
Yes, minor things like that, but not to have broad sweeping policy changes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's grossly inappropriate. We should not be accepting that. We should say to our politicians, we expect you to do better.
Mm-hmm. But if our people are not holding them accountable, because I think now that, I would say in the past election or midway through 2021 and up to this election and now, is the most persons have been switched on. And this is why I am so grateful that I've asked God to guide me in this space with how I deliver, because this did not existed until this space happened, where you could bring it like this. I'm nonpartisan, but for us to educate at the same time.
Right.
And it has never, people are now switched on, but we can't live in the past of what has happened. But what you're saying right now is a prime example that could have long-lasting implications should your clarion call to slow this amendment down for whatever reason that you've outlined and many people are talking about behind closed doors. This would be a prime example of where not using your voice, not coming together as one to say, stop, put political pressure on, let's slow this down. If this goes through, because nobody listened to, let's say, yourselves and many others, then God be with us on the other end.
Well, yeah, and I just hope that the public will avail themselves of this opportunity and ask the government to let's please have proper conversation. This idea, what's his name? Minister Miles, I'm told, said about how much money it costs for to have these public meetings. You don't need to buy food for people to have a public meeting. That's ridiculous. I mean,
what is the
cost?
Are they having them in public buildings? They're talking about light bill and water bill?
I'm not sure.
Or is it overtime for the staff? I mean,
I would imagine
that's not making any sense in my humble opinion. And for a matter of clarity, caller, what would you say then to the other side of the coin for those individuals who are just bought in? Well, look, they got to start somewhere. And just hush, just make it happen. We needed immigration reform. What would you say to that mentality of persons who are like, just give them a chance? We gotta start something, because you do have those amount of persons as well.
What I would say is that the problem is, like I just said a few minutes ago, if the government can guarantee us that if it doesn't work, we can undo all of the changes.
That's going to be a hell of a lawsuit.
I know it. I know that's not going to happen.
It can't happen.
I'm not thinking it's going to happen. But
we're going to live with those consequences.
I'm saying it this way to explain to the people
I get you.
who think that you can throw gasoline on a building, you can set it on fire, and once it's halfway burnt, then we can just say, hey,
stop it.
Press pause. Let's go back to the beginning of this event. That only happens in your mind, not in the real world.
Mm-hmm. And something like legislation that's impacting how we access jobs, how we feel as though we are not left out, like immigration reform and stuff that has far-reaching implications. Yeah, you're quite right.
And the government isn't going to jump up and make major changes just a few months down the road either. So whatever changes are made now are going to stick around. The fundamental changes are going to stick around for a long time.
But remember, everything has to do public consultation as well, unless it's gross national impact that is the replication or the repercussions of something could be so bad that it's become a huge national of public interest. That's the only thing that you can just put a hard and fast stop. And by then, I can tell you, Danny, it'll probably be burning tires in the street.
Well,
that's on the far side of responding.
So I ran into someone today who we were talking about immigration, and I asked, what do they think? And we talking for a bit, and I asked, why are Caymanians afraid to speak up and be involved? And the person pretty much said to me that the people that they know is they're not going to do anything unless we're sitting right on the edge of total disaster.
Oh wow!
And so
then that's reactive.
I said, but do they not understand that you can't just rebuild a country once you destroy. It's not that simple. You can't be doing, getting in an accident, totally wiping out, and then thinking that if you think that way, other people are going to want to come and join your society and feel secure in your decision making, and put their capital at risk,
Right.
because you are so afraid that you just can't speak up. No, when the country is burning, it will be a really long time before you recover, if you recover.
What would you have to say to those persons that feel just having this conversation, which is food for thought, educational
Right
and
at this,
informative, at this point, that say
right
it's about
this moment,
fair-mongering, that you're not giving it a chance? What would you have to say to those persons? Oh, it's
I w-
just Danny on his rant and Sabrina has an axe to grind and da 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 da. You understand what I'm saying? That
yes,
is
yes,
what
I
we're
do
trying to
understand.
dilute and just
Okay,
don't miss the forest for the trees, because exactly what you're saying, what we're discussing is facts. It's happening
here's
right
what I
now.
would say. Here's what I would say to those persons. First of all, I would say that the difference between right now and 10 years down the road is that 10 years down the road, you will only be able to wish and hope that today you actually did something about it. And if you do something about it now, you stand the chance of improving our situation. Later, 10 years down the road, all you will have is regret that you didn't do something about it. And the second thing I would say is that the person who would say that it's just fair mongering, I would say that that comment is an ignorant comment, because what a debater would say instead of that is, well, there's this particular issue. Let's just say it's status grants. I think the government is dealing with that properly for this reason, this reason, and this reason. And therefore, I don't think we should be waiting. To say that it's scaremongering is to take the dismissive approach that the government is currently taking, uh, and believing that that type of response is appropriate. It's not appropriate, because we have a right to be involved in the formulation of policy.
Right.
What is
But
not
you only
happening?
have a right if they bring it to you. A lot of the legislation that we've been talking about, Danny, people don't even recall town hall meetings.
No, but no, we do have a right whether they bring it to us or
Or
not.
not.
The fact that if they don't bring something to us, then they're actually breaching our rights. But it doesn't. But because we don't know about it, doesn't mean we don't have a right. We have a right. It's just that we're being denied the opportunity
To
to do it.
We got a question or a comment from Cameron here. Didn't we start talking about immigration reform after the mass grants? Even when the US market crashed in 2009, we were talking still and talking. Time to just do it now. What's your take on that one?
Do what now?
I'm tearing immigration reform.
No. I know. I know what the topic is. But you see, this is the problem. The people who just want to tell us to sit down, shut up, let's get on with it, just want to make vague, disparaging remarks. They don't actually want to have dialogue. Because you see, I'm not on here saying, the government's a bunch of idiots, and that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we're not. By no means, no.
I'm saying, I quoted a very specific thing. I said clause 35 of the bill. So I'm speaking
Of
to
the
a
law.
topic that I think that will be problematic for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to have dialogue with the government. But what the government is saying is, shh, we don't have time for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see
And
another comment there. Good afternoon, everyone. It's not just in government. These things are happening also in relationships too, I think.
well, yeah, but that's an entirely different.
That's all. Look, I could do a 4-hour show on that one. Oh my gosh, for what, dealing with immigration law for 20 something years. OMG. Yeah.
Yeah.
Angela. Yeah. Douglas. Yeah. That's a
So
whole different show.
so so the people who would just seek to shut us up,
Yeah.
I don't buy your argument that we should just move on, because what we're expressing is that we have serious concerns about specific issues. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I know as a fact that Mr. Howell, who answered my question at the Mary Miller Hall, is a very capable individual.
More than.
He has the ability to articulate things in ways for people to understand clearly.
He epitomizes civil servants, you know. He's one of
Yeah.
them. He's one of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying anything about him personally. I'm just making the observation he's a capable person.
But that's a credit. I'm crediting him.
And so when he answered me in a way that the public couldn't decipher what he actually said to me, that tells me what the government is thinking. Okay. And
But
I
maybe
don't
he
blame
was
him.
measured in his response
Yeah,
because the directive has to be given by the political arm.
that's
And
right.
remember, even the political arm that was present there has to be supported by one's caucus and cabinet. So how you posed for educational purposes, how you posed your question for the operational arm of government, Mr. Howell, to respond, one had to be guarded and still not overstep the political arm, which I can see you creating that type of environment just by how you articulate.
Well, I'm not trying to blame him at all, because I understand what you just said and I agree with that. It is the politicians who decide how the conversation unfolds. And I think it's wrong for politicians to have conversation in a way that the average person can't
or digest.
understand
Yes, quite
what
right.
is being said.
Which is why I try to break it down here in layman's terms. And many a times you may think may come across, for the sake of those who are in tune, and thank you for joining us. It's not that I'm getting back at Denny. It's for the purpose of education and informative. Sometimes I throw stuff at him deliberately, but he knows I'm not coming at him. For the purpose of discussion and getting information out, I will be devil's advocate many a times, because I want to make sure that you all understand. And many a times I see the comments here, Sabrina used language we can understand. And I do my best to break it down in layman's terms and repeat certain things for a number of reasons, for emphasis. So even
I want to make an observation.
Go ahead.
I want to make an observation. The person who says use language they can understand, what would be better than saying that is to say specifically what it is that was said that you're not understanding, so that the attention can be focused on that particular point on the topic,
right,
so that we can give clarity
or more context. Yeah,
right, because by saying speak so we can understand, the problem is that when you're speaking to an audience as large as a country, there's so many different degrees of background knowledge. It's hard to know
how to target your
level to speak.
Yeah.
Because if you were to break it down so that a baby could understand it, we would be
You
here
would
for
be
weeks
not only
just trying
that,
to
but you'd
talk
be
about one
insulting
point.
those who get it at the first point as well. So you just got to
Well,
find that sweet spot.
yeah, there's no real way to guarantee that. But what I'm trying to say is that if the person says, well, this particular statement that you made here,
Mm-hmm.
can you explain that particular one better to me so we can understand that?
Right.
That would help expedite the conversation
Correct.
and allow for the focus to be only in the area where the clarity is needed so that we could continue the conversation.
Right. Very interesting times, Danny. But you've put a lot of context to this where we having to go, and based on the comments that are coming through, and we had one here by Tanya. It says businesses have to function while training, and therefore the input of the business community is most important to establish safe ways not to weaken the economy.
Well, the things that I have said about the immigration law considers business. Like I've said on your show, I want things to be as efficient as they can possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to make life difficult for businesses because I understand that the more difficult I make it for business, the more the less convenience I'm going to have, and probably the higher cost I'm going to have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because businesses pass all of their costs on to us
Oh yeah.
customers,
Oh yeah.
right? So I'm not trying to make the life of a business difficult. But the aim of a business is to make money. And so when it comes to talking about the intangible things like rights and whether someone can stay,
Mm-hmm.
those things take a back seat to the profitability of the company from the perspective of the owner of that company. But the role that we play as citizens in the country
Mm-hmm.
is to look out for our rights while trying to balance that as best as possible
Mm-hmm.
with looking out for the interests of businesses.
Hmm.
And so, yes, the government would go and talk to the business community. That's appropriate.
Right.
But that's not all they should be doing. They shouldn't go and talk to the business community, figure out what they're going to do, come to us, have a little meeting, say a few words, and then say, tell us what you think, and then that's it. Because I can assure you, they had dialogue with businesses.
But where's the common man?
But that's right. Where's
the common man? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how we can know that that's happening
Mm-hmm.
is that the government uses a phrase that we misinterpret as individuals.
What's that?
That phrase is stakeholders.
Ha.
Okay? When they say
Stakeholders consultation.
stakeholders, you think that includes you. But what the government really means by stakeholder is the businesses that the legislation affects.
It's going to impact. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what they mean. So they're thinking one thing, you're thinking something different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we all feel good because we think we're included.
Right.
We're
When in fact you didn't.
Really.
Right. And then a lot of times too, as well, that we're seeing based on public conversations being had on the various talk shows, different forums, that you hear a lot of public layman's, the average person, commenting on forums like this only when they're on the floor for debate. That's a little late.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It's late.
Absolutely. There are things we need to change about how we interact with the government. And one of the things that I think should be a core subject in our education system is a basic course in administrative law.
Right.
That I'm not saying that to mean that people need to get like technical
down in the trenches, but yeah,
no,
right.
But administrative law is can be as simple as when you walk into a government office, and let's say you're going to fill out an application. You just would understand how you can expect civil servants to behave with you,
Right.
how you should behave with them, what your rights are, and if things don't go as you expect,
This is
what
yeah.
recourse do you have?
Right.
Like, do you go to the supervisor? Do you go to the ombudsman, or do you do both? Or it's about just understanding how to navigate the machine we call government.
Again, for the
Right?
purpose of this discussion, do you think that is wanted? Prior to a space like this, you never had
Well,
this type of dialogue publicly.
in the past, there were times when I can say categorically it was not wanted under any circumstances.
There we go.
The reason for that is because the more informed the public are, the more difficult it is for certain politicians to pull a fast one on the average person.
Take a break.
Because
One second.
you're more informed.
1 second. You may continue.
I'm not saying that this government doesn't want it. I'm not going to go that far.
No.
But I want to encourage the Minister for Education to encourage the government to include that in the curriculum as a core subject. The reason why it needs to be a core subject is for the same reason why you study English, math, and science.
Right.
It's so that when you get out of school, you are functionally literate. It is very challenging to say that someone who has no idea how to interact with their government, meaning in a appropriate way,
right,
you can't describe that as functionally literate.
Maybe people will understand without labeling those who speak publicly. Coming from an informed perspective, like Denver said, hi, Denver, how are you doing? So good to see you. He said, exactly. And the average individual condemns us for speaking out. Remember, we were saying, you even gave an example, Sabrina, what happens if it's only 2 or 3 of us? We can be removed in a second. But here we are. Actually, their strength in numbers puts all of this into perspective, that it's just not Sabrina and a Denver and a Danny and a Siobhan and a Lisa. That's only 5 people, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Do you realize that? Who's really taking you would almost call it a risk, and being very public, but coming from an informed, respectful manner in educating. But when you sit down and you put it into the realities now, it's like you're condemned for educating the masses.
Well, when you come to understand the realities, the risk and the fear that people feel and perceive about interacting with government in a public way, that is more that only exists in your mind. Much of that isn't real. Like, in other words, you have rights that the government can't do you many of the things you think the government can do you.
It's true.
Right? But you're psyching yourself out. Right? And you're putting yourself at a disadvantage.
It's true.
Right? And so what you find is that the more you actually understand about what your rights are, when you assert those rights, you have to understand that the purpose of the legal system is to settle disputes between persons who argue about rights. And so when you have a large number of people being willing to interact with their government and demand to have dialogue on important subjects and not to be thought of as a stepchild or
any less because you don't
or-
carry a certain last name or you're not in a
right.
certain category in society, that your voice doesn't matter.
Yeah. So the more that we appreciate the rights that we do have, those that those veterans fought for,
Yeah.
you know, that politicians are trying to destroy. Once you understand them and you come together as a society, think about it this way: we're a greater number than they are.
Yeah. And again, there's strength in numbers. There's a reason why I keep saying that. But if you don't even trust yourselves, then you weaken that strength. But let me tell you, just in numbers alone, people shouldn't be scared of their politicians. Politicians are actually scared of you. If we were actually doing what we were supposed to do as people and sticking together as people, they actually are scared of you. Denver says, as many says, they want to keep us like the underdog without a voice. And I have another saying as well: keep them dumb and under their thumb. And Damian Henry says, government using Machiavellian theory. Well, when you, that's why I said, I can't believe you just put it into perspective, Damian. To be honest,
but here's the thing: a lot of people will look at government and think, well, we as individuals belong to the country.
Correct.
No, we don't. We don't belong to the country. The country belongs to us. Okay? And the reason, the way you have to visualize this is like this: before government existed in the way that we understand them, humans existed.
Yep.
And the types of rights that pre-exist government are called natural rights. And natural rights are things that apply to all human beings regardless of their class. I'll give you an example. The right to life is a natural right. The government doesn't give us a right to life. What the government does in the Constitution is just acknowledge that right exists. Right? But it predates the entire concept of government. And if the right to life is going to mean anything, then we also then have to have a right to eat. Because without food, we would die.
Right.
So the government then would be then forced to accept that we have this right to eat that they can't interfere with, because that would threaten our right to life. But here's where it gets interesting, and here's where we jump from pre-government to current events. The UK Prime Minister stood up and said, you won't be able to work without a digital ID.
And something about your phones now too. And
Right.
they're doing certain cameras are now picking up facial recognition in certain checkpoints at certain intersections. They have digital cameras that is really reading.
It's going to apply to everything.
But it's happening in the UK. It's real. It's already live.
But the reason why he's limiting it in the way that he is for PR purposes. Because what he's saying is, you see those people who are coming into the country and taking your jobs?
Yeah.
We want to put a stop to that. And we need a digital ID to do it. But let me be the first to tell you that is total nonsense. Right? You already have to prove your identity in the United Kingdom before you get a digital ID. And you have illegal work. Even after you get the digital ID, it is still not going to stop illegal work. Okay? Let me be the first to tell you, but that's not the point of the conversation of what I'm saying right there.
Right.
The point that I'm making is that he said you will not be able to work. Now, that doesn't just apply to immigrants. That applies to everyone. Okay? Here's why this is important. You will get locked out of the system. In other words, you won't be able to provide food for yourself, which threatens your health and your life if you don't have a digital ID. You understand why that's problematic? But let me touch on a prophetic point. This is the infrastructure that I believe will be used by the entity referred to as the beast in the book of Revelations to control people. What is said, there are three things that are said. You won't be able to buy or sell without it. It'll be a mark on your forehead, and it'll be a mark in your right hand. What the UK Prime Minister said when he said you won't be able to work, put that in language that that would help you understand the book of Revelations better. You won't be able to sell your skills, your time, and your knowledge to an employer. And the employer won't be able to buy those same things from you unless you have a digital ID. So that is one element of the book of Revelations that you could say check in relation to the digital ID. The Cayman Islands government, when it implemented the Identity Act, said that it's going to be voluntary. Now, it's not going to stay like that. It'll become mandatory because they want to track and control everything. But as it relates to the book of Revelations, one of the elements is that it says that the mark will be in your right hand. The Cayman Islands government sold us on digital ID, saying that we would have a certificate, the digital ID in our phones, so that we could log into our wallets securely, so that we could sign documents
For
electronically.
ease of conducting business.
Talking about comfort, right? Where do most people hold their cell phones?
Come on. What about our lefties?
The prophecy is not going to look at every single facet. It's just going to take the norm, the usual route, and say, you're not going to be able to do anything without it. And the UK Prime Minister is saying you're not going to be able to work without it. The Cayman Islands government is saying you're not going to be able to work without it.
When they speak, we have to follow, right? Because we are
no,
no. Question.
No. We already have identity. There are some people who believe that this card is just like just another version of a driver's license, for example. So what's wrong with knowing what your name and your date of birth is?
No, but it has a chip that has you access to other things.
If it was only about your name, your date of birth, and your address, I wouldn't be talking about it. Right? Because we have passports that give us that information. We have driver's licenses that give us that information. We have birth certificates. We have voter ID. You have other documents that can prove your identity. Okay? This one is going to allow them to do things with every single thing you have. There is I can't remember his name. I don't know why I could never remember his name, but he was He was involved with the Bank of Brazil. He was the chair, I think, of their central bank. He was describing a few years back why central banks want and need central bank digital currency.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the paper currency that we have now, it
No.
has a serial number on it.
It
right?
does. Yes, they do.
So they can track each instance. But if I give you a $1 bill and you give it to somebody else, the bank can't see where that $1 bill
Correct.
went
Correct.
until it gets back to the bank.
If
They
it's
know the
deposited,
right.
deposited.
They know the last person who handled it, but
That
not
note,
the
mhm.
10 or the 20 or the 100 in between who handled it. Central bank digital currency is designed to fix that problem.
And they will be able to track everything. But talking about digital footprint, and you're talking about the digital ID, right, and not being able to work.
But if one second, sorry, I need
Go
to
ahead,
make
go
this
ahead.
point before I forget it. It's not just about tracking, because some people actually don't care if you track what they do.
Right.
Right. What you have to understand is that they could say when and where you could use it.
And they can cut you off. They can put parameters.
So if that's right. So, and the way you understand that function is by listening and when you're reading articles, look out for a term that is used called programmable. And what that means in the context of how they want to implement it, that is what is technically called an algorithm or a smart contract,
Mm-hmm.
in which they write a rule that says you may only use this instance of digital currency in this way.
Right.
In other words, you could buy broccoli, but you can't buy beef.
But yet I could be behind you, but based on my whatever parameters are give for me, I could buy
Right.
tip sirloin. But you are
That's right.
you are limited from tip sirloin.
That's right. And so that is the degree of control that they are looking for. And there is another degree that is deeply troubling. China is doing a pilot program on this right as we speak. So when the government says we would like to stimulate the economy in such and such a way,
Mm-hmm.
if you need to spend your money on something other than what the government wants you to do, currently you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
In China, in the pilot program, if you don't spend the money the way the government thinks it should be spent, that would be disallowed. Or if you don't spend it at all, the money would just simply expire.
Yeah, it falls away. Yeah.
Now,
And that's their pilot program. That's their
if
pilot.
you want to live in a world where the government has that degree of control over every single aspect of your life, something's wrong with you.
Let me tell you, you see, in this space, in this podcasting space, I get notifications all the time on my Sabrina Turner community activist page telling me I'm behind on answering or responding to birthday shoutouts. Even if you put emoji like happy birthday, like I literally have to go through now and say, thank you for celebrating. Thank you for this. Oh yes, he had a good time or she had a good time. They will actually tell me I'm behind and how much engagement I need to do on this page. And if you fail to actually meet their requirements, they drop your algorithms down. And I'm not monetizing this page. We can't monetize it here.
Yeah, well.
You see what I'm saying? I'm already
Yeah.
feeling the pressures of being a content creator, because my reach with this platform, even though you're subscribing to it, unless you subscribe, share, or follow, if you don't subscribe, there's going to become a time that if I don't do what they're telling me to do on this space, you're going to have a hard time finding me.
Yeah.
So when you hear me asking, please don't forget to like, share, or follow, there's a reason for that. Because I could literally be on my smart device or a laptop all day, just trying to keep up with the prompts that is being pushed by Facebook to me so that I can keep relevant or accessible to everyone that is joining this podcast at some point. Sometimes you will hear Sandra say, people will say, well, share the links because we can't find you. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. You can imagine how much responses Sandra is getting on her page. They're holding that against her for not answering to every single comment. I'm getting the pressure. I'm feeling it.
You see the discussion about the Paris Agreement.
Yeah.
You know what a ratchet is?
A ratchet, like a
tool.
so
like a ratchet.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, with a ratchet, what happens is, and you turn it in one direction, it locks so that you
Correct.
can turn like a nut or something, right?
Right.
But then when you go the other direction, the ratchet disengages, allowing it to freely move. And then when you go back in the other direction, it locks and you're able to turn again. Right?
Correct.
Another way of thinking of that is a python strangling an animal to death.
Oh, wow.
Before eating it, right?
Leave it to you.
And the Paris Agreement has a ratchet function in it. And so what we're being told is that, we could decide the degree to which we, will participate in these things. But that's true. But half of the truth doesn't mean that we're okay. Because the other part of the truth is that as time goes by, you will continually and perpetually be required to do more and more and more. Just like when the python squeezes the animal and the animal exhales, the python clamps down more so that
harder.
The lungs can't expand and you can't breathe. You know why the United Kingdom is falling apart? Because they are being outrageous on many of these issues. The wealthy people in the United Kingdom are leaving in droves right now, more than many other countries.
Any idea where they're heading, like a safe haven?
They're going all over the place.
Okay.
Not one particular place.
Okay, understood.
But the point that I'm trying to make is this.
They're leaving.
They're leaving because the government is doing nonsense. The cost of you think electricity is high in Cayman? The people in the UK are screaming about the cost of electricity. And the government is doing everything it can to increase the cost of living. And their solution to that is, we'll just tax the rich to pay for what we want to do, to give the subsidies to this one and the subsidies. Now, understand why this is relevant to digital ID. Because the politician knows who he has to give subsidies to. So therefore, he needs to keep track of all of that. And then he needs to know who has the money to rob that person so that he could give it to the other segment of society. And the upper echelons, many of them are saying, I'm finished. What do you think is going to happen to us when we are doing things that increase our cost of living? You think we're going to be exempt? What is going to happen to us is if we continue to do what we're doing right now, we don't need to have the Paris Agreement to tell us, to constantly pressuring us to do more and more and more and more, or else. Okay? Because what we're doing is we're signing away what little degree of sovereignty we actually have. Now, there are some people who think, who cares? well, you'll care when you find yourself in a situation where, on one hand, you need to do X in order to survive, but you can't because you're locked into something that is excessive. The reason these things are excessive is not because these measures need to be done all at one time right now. We're talking about what needs to be done over the next 100 and 200 years.
But Danny, a lot of people are exhausted just by just trying to keep the lights on, food on the table, and then the realities of what's happening around them as we continue to engage in these conversations, and they're feeling then that they have been taken advantage of because of their lack of interest, lack of being taken advantage of because I guess not asking the right questions, or just feel let down by their leaders. There are a number of
many
reasons.
reasons
You
why
understand
we're
what I'm saying?
yeah, yes, I
So
do.
people are just struggling with the realities and they're getting exhausted. And I feel
But
that's
let me,
why we're having so much mental health issues.
yes, yes,
It's like it's an
and
overload
yes,
of reality. And like, where
yes,
do we turn to? Okay, I turn to my leader. Oh God, but they're screwing us over. You see what I'm saying? It's like this
yes.
whirlwind. And then you have our
Let,
young men and women that are off getting an education and they're hearing this. They want to come back home and they're seeing it there for those who are in the UK or Canada or the United States, and they're seeing what's happening. They're hearing discussions like this. It's like, what am I doing?
well, let me tell you, let me move the conversation back to the point of we were talking about natural rights. Think about you creating something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you make a chair. That chair doesn't control you, right? You have power over the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is human beings are the creators of this abstract concept we call government. So tell me, what do you mean that our creation is in charge, is controlling us? That sounds really stupid to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you imagine government like the strata board in your complex,
Mm-hmm.
that board is a creation of the owners of that complex.
Mm-hmm.
And the board is there to serve the interests of
The complex,
owners,
yeah, each owner.
not the other way around. And what the reason why we have government is so that collectively we can do the things that we need other people to help us with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need some of your money, and me and you need somebody else's money, and the three of us need somebody else's money in order to build a road, because you can't build it by yourself because it's too expensive, and I can't build it by myself because it's too expensive for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so those things that we do in common, like, painting the complex on the outside, cutting the grass, those are things we do in common. So we pool our money and get those jobs done, and we delegate the responsibility to the board
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that those things get done. But that's essentially what you're doing with government.
Which
The
is
government is going to
our
pool our
politicians.
resources.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going to pool the money, build roads. They're going to pool our money, make sure the roads are clean, pool our money and build schools, pool our money, build an airport, because me and you can't build the airport by ourselves. That doesn't mean there isn't people here who can.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, we need to all of us to chip in to pay for the roads. The government is there to be responsible for that money and spend it in the way that we want it to be spent. What is happening with government is that there's this idea that if you're a politician, you could just sort of go in and ignore those stupid, voters. You don't need to listen to them. Let's just spend the money on the things that we want for our own interests. We don't have to put up with that. We created that entity. We should hold them accountable. We should demand better. There is no reason why when politicians do things wrong, that they shouldn't be punished just like one of us. The only reason it doesn't happen is for the most part, the public expects that the politician is going to create some board or some structure that's going to hold them accountable. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When we grow up, become adults, and accept the responsibility of holding government accountable,
Mm-hmm.
and we do so as a group, demanding rule of law, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
only then will it happen. So the homework for each person listening to this conversation is to go away and ask themselves, how do I want to step up to my responsibility and participate in this idea we call a free society?
Hmm.
If you don't see where you have a role to play in this society, please tell us why you think you don't, so that we could have a conversation about it, because it's really important
Mm-hmm.
that we all galvanize for our own interests.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't have to come together and everyone was looking out just for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
why would I surrender some of my freedoms to the state for a benefit that doesn't exist? I might as well just live on my own, do everything for myself,
Mm-hmm.
just not have to deal with answering any politicians about anything.
Mm-hmm.
But we come together in this way because it's mutually beneficial
Mm-hmm.
if we do it properly.
True. Caller, we got Damien Henry had the taxman is the worst in the UK. More you earn, the more you pay. And Denver said, a school teacher of mine said to me yesterday, the pressure of our society is causing much stress to Caymanians. And I'm going to wrap up here because I'm over. I was going to exit, leave it to Danny. But thank you. Very, very interesting information that you shared here today, Danny. And I must say, I want to thank you for sharing,
On
for stepping.
on that last point, I can't leave
Which one?
that last point alone about the mental health.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you allow your government to create an environment that is so stressful to you that your children sense it, that your children can't have enough food because
Mm-hmm.
just of the mismanagement, even though the politician describes it as good governance, not really. If you're so stressed out that if you can't provide the basics, food, shelter for your children to be healthy
Mm-hmm.
so that they can go to school and learn, but they're worried about, well, will my parents be able to keep their job?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is my parents going
They're
to
focusing
end
on
up?
something else because they're in an environment where they're seeing the struggles. Yeah. So
Yeah,
they're not even mature enough to deal with all of that.
that's right.
They haven't developed enough to have to deal with that. And as Cameron says, generational trauma. Denver, Cameron says he was asking, why don't we have district councils? First of all, district councils to be properly instituted requires some constitutional change, Cameron, and that requires political will. Cameron also said these kind of talks that happens under the sea grape tree, but Denver says, really? But the people will hear that conversation, will not hear that conversation. This media will get the sea grape tree talk out to the population. So you can see where people are appreciating, Denny, the level of these conversations. And Cameron, I want to exercise the rights and Constitution. Try to start with Section 119 of our failing Constitution. Now that may be another show.
Yeah, and I just want to say this. In order for us to have proper dialogue, the public needs to say specifically what it is that they want to focus on.
Yes, yes.
Because if you and I are talking about something, and there is some specific aspect that they want us to focus on,
Correct.
or they want to participate on, you need to tell us
what,
because the problem with conversation sometimes is that people take the view, well, I'm smart enough to see what is happening, why can't you? And we can't read minds.
But that's where
right?
the selfishness, if it's not on my doorstep, then it's not bother. But that may, yeah. We got to change that way.
Say specifically what it is that we should be focusing on, so that we can address each specific concern. Because by doing so, you will hear things perhaps you haven't heard before, and we can all learn from each other.
Which is what Denver was saying. Yeah.
Yes, and hopefully come up with solutions to our problems.
And to be honest with you, caller, they are listening. We know it. We've seen certain changes, and there are some changes that have been taking place, even though subtle, and we don't need to credit, as long as it's in the best interest of everybody, right?
Yeah.
In certain operations, we have gotten public feedback in private, that they have seen
public
some
feedback in private.
Sorry, what I'm saying, I've gotten feedback from persons who have been dealing with certain public government departments, and they have seen some minor changes. And I think at the end of the day, because it's just not towing the line, it's how you deliver. And we're doing this in a calm manner. We're not bashing anyone. We're not coming at anyone, but it's what the people deserve. And if there was never an outlet where you could publicly discuss it, that they can say, look, the public isn't that scary, or really, we can look at it, because if this is what people have been saying for such a long time, maybe it's time for us to rethink how we're offering certain services. And that everybody wins at the end of the day.
There's one thing I want to say here about how things are said. It's not possible to have a conversation without risking offending someone. It's simply impossible. The reason for that is that by definition, if you're trying to raise a concern about something, you're going to be saying something that is going to be different from what the other party is saying.
Yeah, and then they think you're coming at them personally when you're not.
Right. You're just having a dialogue.
Right.
And so this is why the right to freedom of expression is so important. Because what you would prefer to happen is that we have conversation and we say things, and even if you don't like what someone says, what you should do is appreciate the fact that it's happening verbally. Because if you don't talk about your differences, you're gonna fight about them.
Right. And then we become almost cannibalistic, like a bunch of piranhas.
When I say fight, I don't mean yell at each other. Okay? Right? I'm talking about being uncivilized, because what will happen?
Cannibalistic.
What will happen is that if you don't want to talk to me about something, you're just going to do what you want to do. If that thing infringes upon me negatively, now I'm going to try to stop you from doing this thing.
Instead of correcting the problem.
And you're going to feel more offended that I'm trying to stop you and get more hostile.
Yeah.
When in fact, what should have happened is we should have appreciated that these things should be addressed in a civilized way, which is we sit down, we have a conversation, we say, no, I don't believe that the existing non-Caymanian civil servants should be exempted from these immigration rules that you're about to put in place.
Mm-hmm.
And then even if you say something that is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
the thought just vanishes
Right.
after the conversation
And
and it's gone.
no, but you see
But
here, it
when it
doesn't.
gets physical,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
that threatens everything.
And then hindsight
And
is 2020. Oh, if we
that's
did. Oh,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
So it's crazy. Look at this caller, and we're going to wrap up here because I really got to run. I think the world is awakening to what politicians and the elite have managed have managed to control us all. That we must engage in slavery. Our rights are nothing more than an idea. States and money are just ideas. Let me just read some more. Cameron, don't worry, we're brave and bold. Dominique says we need to get together, Caymanians. This is our home. And then Aliano, oh, long time haven't seen you, my friend. How are you doing? I want to see the government stop quote writing corporations. You know now. Oh, let me just get this. Now what? Employ strong democratic policies that are 50-50, stop the corruption and nepotism, and the under the table favor BS, and quit screwing the little people. And Denver, go ahead.
People will always try to do things that are wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have processes in order to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
But just remember, when you're talking about politicians doing something wrong, you can't then rely on the politicians to
correct it in the best interest of the masses. Yeah, so
right.
it's
that's our job. That's our job.
Oh, thank you, Denver, for this comment. The best thing Sandy Hill did was to get you into this program. Oh, so sweet of you. Thank you so much for that compliment. The real Michelle Teresa says, maybe the idea we all subscribe to should be based on love and inclusion rather than the idea of control and power and money. These were stupid ideas all humans have embraced to our own detriment. And Cameron says, Danny, no on a good. That's exactly how we are. And then the fact corruption exists was because we subscribe to the idea of powerful people knows what's best for us, kind of an idea. Very interesting. Real Michelle.
See that comment there?
Yeah,
Comment there?
real.
Listen,
that's profound.
Let me give you an
Oh
example
my gosh.
of that. What they are going to do in the future is establish councils and commissions of experts.
Mm-hmm.
And those experts will make decisions for us.
Yeah.
Okay, that is what that person is referring to. Right. So in other words, they're not going to come and ask you and me what we think should be done with legislation.
Experts.
The experts of that clearly is going to be in their
chosen by them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're going to decide for us. Now, that brings us to this word called democracy. Democracy can be very dangerous. What you actually need to make sure that we are all safe is not just the will of the majority, but the rights of the minority. Because just because you have the right, you're on the side of the majority on something, doesn't mean you can do whatever you want to me. There must be rights below which the government cannot go, even if you're in the minority. And that is what brings about a prosperous, safe, enjoyable society. Respect for minority rights. That doesn't mean you have to accept what the person is saying.
Right.
As in, agree with them,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't like take out your frustration on the person
Right.
because they're in the minority.
Correct. They have a right. They have a right.
Can't fire you. Can't say no. You can't get any food. No. You're not going to get any work permits. I'm not going to pay for your insurance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You get the picture.
What Damien
You can't
says, their
punish
favorite
somebody.
saying, for the greater good.
Right. That's right.
Danny, I'm going to ask you to leave me there, my love. Thank you so much for being almost a co-host today.
Okay. Take care.
Take care. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye. Well, there we go. Oh, wow. There I go for trying to end the show early. But thank you, Denny. Very informative. Thank you for everyone who's engaged, who's participated. And again, nuggets of inspiration and information being shared. And can you imagine that came off because of me telling you all of the calls and conversations that I have post-show. And I'm happy that it ended up this way. Just a gentle reminder that Georgetown District Heritage Day is going on right now. It's going to end in less than an hour. I heard around 8 o'clock. I'm not so sure what time fireworks were going to be starting this evening, but right there on Cardinal Avenue. Ann Stevenson, Danny for Premier. That's the will of the people. So there you go. But thank you guys for sticking with me so much. I appreciate it. And I'm hoping that, again, you're taking nuggets of information from this, that we're educating and informing each other. And I try not to come on here and just go with the wind. But there was one thing that I wanted to bring up when Danny was on in regards to the Apple ID now being used as a form of ID in certain airports right now that you at TSA checkpoints. And that is the beginning rollout stage of this whole digital ID platform. And there's also going to be a wallet where you can upload your travel document now in the Apple ID. And Samsung is trying to do something as well. And you're actually going to be using that for ease of travel. We can go into that a little bit tomorrow. To be honest with you, I can delve into that a little bit more so that you can see how, in actual fact, tying into this conversation, where we're going. And the synopsis behind all of this is officially rolling out the digital way of doing business. So yeah, there we go. There you have it. But it has been a pleasure for me being here with you on this Thankful Thursday. I hope that you're having an enjoyable evening and that your day today was very productive. And for all of our persons on the front line and uniform services, thank you for your services. All of the persons in the healthcare industry as well, thank you for all that you do. Cameron, what are you saying? Denny deserves a good plate of turtle for his call. Yeah, he deserves a lot more than that. He's been doing this for quite a while. Credit must be done. Credit. No, you're too wrong. You are just wrong, Cameron. OMG. You know what? You all have a good evening. Please be safe on the road until tomorrow. Love you lots. Take care. God bless. Have a good evening.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.